Oh, that's
Good. Hi, everyone. This is Sheri Jewell. I am a professional psychic medium. This is a show, Let's Talk. I did this show to share inspiring people and inspiring stories, anything that I feel that could help you, the listener, or humanity. Today's guest is going to be Jenniffer Weigel. Hi, Jen.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Sheri. And Birdie, apparently my rescue dog had to show
Oh,
up. That's how these
look up.
roll.
I didn't even see her there. I got mine on the
Right
floor
there.
next to me, and the other one's in
There
the.
you go.
You
Cool.
know, how do I explain Jenniffer, guys? Jenniffer is what? An Emmy Award winning journalist, author.
Mhm.
She's been a reporter. Have you been a news anchor? Whatever. She's done everything. But now you're on the spiritual path. So
Right.
tell us a little about, what you used to do and then what happened to get you onto this spiritual path or the woohoo path.
Well, yeah, no, I was everything's wrong back to you in the studio. I worked for every station in Chicago, pretty much radio, television, and even both newspapers in town. And what I realized after my dad died of a brain tumor. He was just 56 years old. That was in 2001. He was a sportscaster in Chicago named Tim Weigel. And he was just like gone. And I had a really hard time with figuring out where he went. I was a skeptical journalist. I was completely in my 3D world of wanting to climb the ladder employee wise, just have as many awards as possible, an incredible, work ethic, just do. And and then when he died, I was like, what's it all for? You know? And so I started, I didn't believe in any of this really. I just started investigating. I thought I was going to write this expose on how all psychics, mediums, and healers were full of crap. Can I swear on this?
Hey, me, you can swear all you want, guys. You can be
Okay.
spiritual and swear
I thought you
people.
all were full of shit. Let's be honest. I thought you were all were full of shit. And then I find out, hundreds of interviews later, I've interviewed people who've had near-death experiences. I've interviewed people who opened up suddenly to their wiring of intuition. I've all of it. And 5 books later, and about 10 audiobooks later, those are the compilations of my podcast. I'm still asking questions, and I know there's way more going on than we could ever possibly imagine. So I'm now convinced that we can't possibly know everything, right? And so I just make it my full-time job to interview people and find people who have authentic intuitive abilities. And because not everybody who does this work, unfortunately, is in alignment. They don't have good character. They're not honest. There's dishonest people in every profession, from mechanics and doctors and accountants to intuitive professionals. So I've had to learn the hard way, unfortunately, by getting burned when people went on a path where their ego seemed to be more important, right? Um, and it's been a hard lesson, but it's just been part of the journey. So I just keep asking questions. I keep compiling data. And I say all the time, I'm not telling anyone what to believe. They can believe what they want. I'm just telling you what happened to me, and you can form your own opinion.
Well, I
So
think,
that's a very long answer to your question.
no, that's fine because, I was not a spiritual person. I wasn't even a religious person. And I always tell people, and I'm going to swear too, if this shit could happen to me, it can happen to you. And this is why I want to have these
Right.
conversations, because you and I were both, no, I was not really a skeptic, but I wasn't into mediumship. I had never lost anything important, anybody
Right.
to me. I enjoyed calling psychics when I was young. I still enjoy it, right? But it was more
Right.
entertainment. And I think when we do
Right.
finally open up to this or have that awareness and start having our own divine, synchronistic, intuitive experiences, that kind of is the catalyst for like, oh my God, what's out there? I want more, right?
Right.
It like almost takes your mundane,
Right.
depressive life to fun, like, oh wow, what's going on here? I gotta go find out more. And I
Right.
think this would be a perfect time to say how we met. Um,
Mhm.
so I was just a middle-aged housewife myself. My dad got paralyzed. My child was sick for like a year and missed school. Then my mom had a stroke, became paralyzed. Both my parents in her home, some other personal issues, like perfect life destroyed. Depression, anxiety,
Mhm.
all of it hits. And after several years, I started having prophetic dreams. And I didn't know
Mhm.
were prophetic at the time. Somebody was talking to me in my sleep. So it's not even like a dream, it's like
Right.
a loud conversation in my sleep. And one of the first messages that I received, as I was just finding out I was a psychic or a medium, was the statement, a sentence.
Mhm.
And it said, you will meet a woman who wrote a series of books plus one more. And I
Mhm.
woke up, I think that was one of the first messages I ever received, is someone talking to me in my sleep, and you think you're going wackadoodle. And I'm like,
Right.
what the hell? Then I just threw my hands up and I'm like, okay, wait and see, right? You can't make stuff happen. It comes to you synchronistically if it's destined to be, right? I think you and I both
Right.
have learned that. So,
Mhm.
okay, guys, we're going to get a little graphic here, but it's the story. So there's got to be a reason it's the story to share it. I had
Mhm.
a Doberman at the time, and his name was Saber, and he had a bad stomach. Let's just say diarrhea.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I was thinking what's going on for a couple days. I was doing like feeding him the rice and whatever brat diet. And it was the weirdest thing. I'm up early, but I don't go anywhere with my hair and makeup done like at 8 or 9 in the morning. Okay. I
Mhm.
just don't.
Right.
I popped up
Right.
out of bed that day. It was like 6 in the morning. And I never get in the shower at 6 in the morning. Jump in the shower, and I'm bringing a bag of poop to the vet. And they open at
Right.
8. I'm going there by like 8:30. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I so wide awake? Why am I so perky? Why am I bringing a bag of dog poop? God is my witness, guys. I'm in like the lobby area waiting for the test results. Start talking to a woman next to me about, I think, Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium. And I was starting to tell her all the cuckoo stuff that was starting to happen to me. And this woman says very directly to me, oh my God, you have got to read this series of books. And she goes, plus one more. And I had something like a pen in my hand or something, or paper, whatever I had in my hand. I threw it in the air in the middle of the
Mhm.
vet's office, screamed out, what the hell did you say? You know? And
Mhm.
weirdly enough, so I immediately that day went to get the books. So they were your books. Okay. And the other
Mhm.
was, I think, Therese Rowley's was the plus one. Okay.
Mhm.
So they
Mhm.
wanted me to read your 3 books. And like, again, you guys, I
Right.
was a brand new psychic and medium. Then
Mhm.
let's follow this up. I think I then messaged you, right? You probably remember better than me. I
Yeah.
emailed you, told you this crazy ass story about dog poop. You would have think I
Right.
was,
And we became like email buddies. Like, yeah, I was sort
yeah,
of like, okay, this is a really weird email, but I have gotten a lot of really weird emails over the years. People
yeah.
say, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, oh, try me. But so, yeah, it's like, okay, dog poop sent me to you or something. I was like, what?
Yeah, and then we were emailing
It's
back and forth for like a year, and I think you were writing one of your other
right.
books. And then like I was
Yep.
having a lot happening to me supernaturally or synchronicity.
Right.
It's when you first tend to open, they come at you harder, right? And
Right.
I would email you, and then you'd send me a chapter of your book that you hadn't even published yet, saying, I just wrote about this exact thing. So our
Right.
lives
Exactly.
became very parallel, synchronistic, whatever you want to call it. Um,
Hmm.
then a year passed. I don't think we talked for like a year. And I went to the grocery
Hmm.
store. My daughter, who was an adult, I run into her 8th grade boyfriend's mother in the parking lot at the grocery store. She's like, oh,
Okay.
what are you doing? And I said, well, believe it or not, I'm a medium now. Like, how do you say that to somebody? And
Right. Right.
she goes, oh my God, have you ever heard of Jenniffer Weigel? And I, again, threw my hands up in the air. Like, you got to be kidding. I go, that girl's back in my
She's
life again.
back. She's
We're
back.
at
Ah.
theater Wednesday night or something with a medium. Do you want to go? And I'm like, looks like I'm going. And the
Right.
rest is history.
Yes.
I met you.
Hmm.
I think I joined your group. I think you're one of your cousins or something invited me out to dinner or drinks after. And we kind of talked.
Right.
And,
Right.
and then we met
Hmm.
eventually. And here we are today. So we do work together.
Right.
Jennifer does. Why don't you say about like what your spiritual social club is so people know what you do with us crazy mediums?
Well, yeah. So I started this thing called the Spiritual Social Club, which is it started as an online Zoom community because, well, as you and I met in person finally, I was doing an event at the Wilmette Theater in the Chicago suburbs, and I was interviewing an intuitive on stage, and then we were having a discussion with the audience, and they did like a gallery. Again, it was like I wasn't that versed in this language because I was still at the time a columnist for the Chicago Tribune, so very steeped in my 3D world, writing a wellness column called Lessons for Life. But I loved still exploring these other conversations, and so when COVID hit, I couldn't do live events anymore. I was doing one a month in person at different places all around. I would hop around New York, the Chicago area, and then, West Coast sometimes, right? And I couldn't do it during COVID. So I started this Zoom community where I would have the authors or the experts come and Zoom, and then small groups where everybody could talk, everybody could get time with the expert. So it was not like 500 people on Zoom and you feel like you're lost in a sea.
Right.
And it really, the Spiritual Social Club has grown. Now we've got members all across the globe. I'll have people on from like Sweden to Amsterdam to Canada, to Jersey, to Florida, to LA. I mean, it's all over the map, literally. And time zones all over the place. So we meet a couple times a week, sort of keep each other on a high vibe track. And the whole point is high frequency, because at the end of the day, your thoughts become things. And if you want to manifest and get all these things, like I want a new job, I want a new man, I want a new dog, whatever, you have to work on your frequency, because what you put out, you get back. It's that simple. It is not woo woo, it is science. Like attracts like. So if you're stuck in this, everything's wrong back to you loop, it's because that's the thought that's running in your mind. Then bad things keep happening. And it frustrates me, as a professional, watching all these people in pain, because I get it. I've had really horrible things happen. I've watched 3 people take their last breath. One of my closest friends died at the age of 50 after 3 weeks of knowing she had cancer. Like really tragic things. People have shit that happens. Shit happens, that old saying, the sticker, shit happens and then you die. Okay, so what are you going to do in between all of those things? And I just try to teach people to hold themselves accountable to what you're putting out there, the people you surround yourself with, what you tolerate, right? Treat others the way you hope they would treat your child or dog, if you have a child or dog you love. And it just all circles around. So I do now live events and the Zoom events, and you are also part of this thing we call the All Souls Retreat, which Amy O'Keefe and I started 7 years ago, of just gathering like-minded others to talk about all this crazy shit. And then have different authors coming, like John Holland is coming this year from the East Coast, which is super
Amazing.
cool. I mean, you've
John,
got a lot of,
thanks for coming.
yeah, we're so excited to have John. And so anyway, allsoulsretreat.com is that website. And then I have a podcast, and that's really cool because I keep it free, so there's no paywall, and it's sponsored by a nonprofit that's dear to my heart, the Storytelling Education Project. So all this is on my website. It's like a lot of information there. But the Zoom thing started because we couldn't be in person anymore. And I wanted to
Yeah.
keep connecting, but we just couldn't do it. We couldn't do it at the theater.
COVID definitely threw us for a loop, but it's cool though,
Mhm.
because yeah, COVID stunk, let's face it, right? But it also opened up so many different like avenues for us to communicate with people all over the world. So
Right.
there's sometimes a blessing in something that's awful. It's a matter of
Completely.
a person having their mind and perspective to see it,
Right.
have that awareness or
Right.
observation. And then
Mhm.
some Zooms where like, well, I did one with you last night, right? Let's say you have
Yeah.
13 people on a Zoom and you have the medium or psychic on, and they give individual
Mhm.
things to people. So, or like you said, we're doing All Souls, or you're having All Souls in Lake Geneva, which I'm part of, but
Mhm.
it's a what, 2 night, 3 night, Friday night, Saturday night. So it's,
Friday to Sunday. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
and you guys
Mhm.
check it
And
out.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so like it's really grown. Like we had maybe 25 people in a bar at a restaurant off of, Lake Como to start the first year. And now it's grown into this annual thing at the Abbey Resort in Fontana, Wisconsin, which is one of my happy places. It's just so beautiful. And it's not too big. Again, we keep it at like 150 participants in the audience, with a lineup of about 12 different speakers and authors. And then the practitioners are off separately so people can go and get one-on-one time with people like yourself. But you always kick it off with a really fun gallery that just kind of sets the tone for the weekend. And now people have really made it a weekend out of it, where they come on
They expect
Thursday
it.
and leave on Monday, and they just kind of make it the whole thing. So it's really cool.
It's a perfect venue because it's on Lake Geneva.
Mhm.
It's,
Yeah.
it's not only about like the event is bleeping amazing, right? But the
Mhm,
relationships
mhm.
that people form, you're with like-minded people and they find lifelong
Yep.
friends. So I would definitely, where do we check it
Yes.
out? Was it jennweigel.com?
Oh, it's on jennweigel.com. It's also at it has its very own website, allsoulsretreat.com.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah.
also pinned on the top of my Facebook. Okay. Or we
Yeah,
probably pin it
perfect.
to comments here too. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's ask this. Like, I know my life, my trajectory of my life, I never planned on being a psychic or a medium. I quit work at 30.
Mhm.
wasn't planning on working again. And here I'm just turned 60 and we're
Mhm.
working. But
Right.
it's not working. It is working to us, but it's
Mhm.
a passion in our soul, in our
Right.
heart. It's more of a mission
Totally.
for us to help other people,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Um, if you compared like Jenniffer at age 30 to Jenniffer now,
Mhm.
like, are you even the same person anymore?
Oh my God, no. At, at 30, I just cared again. It was about the outside appearance. What was my job? What was my title? What was my salary? All of those things. And then I became a mom at 35, and that changed everything. It was suddenly like, okay, how can I provide for my child? Like that was everything.
It should.
But then I also decided, like, yeah, but well, it should be, but I got news for you. Not every parent is like that, like thinking in some family trees that I know of. But thankfully, that is, that's your priority. That's my priority. Um, but my whole thing, it used to be like outside appreciation would fill me up, because that's how it was. It was like, well, I hope they're happy with this. I hope they're okay with this. I hope they like this. I hope they like it. Instead of now, I'm trying to go from the inside out. And I know that sounds so cliche, but you really can't give what you don't have. So if your pitcher is empty, you have nothing to share. And I say this all the time in my spiritual social clubs. You don't want the tired, exhausted pilot flying your plane. You don't want the fried heart surgeon doing your open heart surgery. So it's important that you take care of you, your container. And a lot of the stories of the people I interview, it's when they decided to go do the things they love, like healer Pat Longo, right? She decides to take tap dancing lessons and bowling league. She
To
joins the
find your
bowling league.
own
And
passion, your own self-love, your own self-joy, your
yeah.
own
And
self-fulfillment.
that the rest will show up, right? The rest will show up. So it's really like, I don't care. I literally said to somebody on a Zoom, because I do a lot of one-on-ones with Zoom now. And I feel like I've got like enough life experience, you do too, where, a lot of people are 28, their intuition opens up and they just want to hang a shingle and become,
Yeah.
the next Teresa Caputo.
No
And it's
more
all
than
about their
that.
ego. And it's just ego, 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 ego. And then they want a TV show and they want five best-selling books. And it's like, I know I have a story. I have people reach out to me because I ghost write for people who can't write. And I have to turn down books left and right because of people's ego. I say to them right out of the gate, I might not take this assignment because if
So
it's
you're
not a
very
fit.
selective of then who you work
Mhm.
with, who you write for. So
Yeah.
you feel like you almost have to have the belief in the person that wants you to do the book or the subject matter.
Well, I just have to have a feeling that they've got the right intention and that the intention is to help the planet raise their vibration and consciousness. And the intention isn't to feed their ego. And,
Or
most of our
pocketbook.
third dimension. Yeah, or their pocketbook. And I get it. We have to pay our bills. We have to, I'm not saying that you shouldn't earn a living or be paid for your time, but if a lot of times I find that people are trying to right a wrong or a vengeance or prove to daddy that they're worth it, or to that third grade bully that they will make it someday, or, whatever. And if that's your reasoning for going through with something, it's not a strong foundation that I want to be aligned with. Do people become successful with those things? Sure.
Yeah,
But I feel like you're like on quicksand, eventually you'll sink, you know?
that
So a
does.
strong
Or you
foundation
get
with your
musicians, right?
intention.
One hit wonders, right?
Right, right, right. So intention is everything. And I know a lot of people, even like musicians, that if their intention is to, prove daddy that they were awesome and they were better than they gave him credit, again, fine, you might have a hit, but you're still feeling hollow inside.
Let's
And
talk about,
all the stuff in the world
yeah, not to interrupt
won't
you, but
fix that.
it just popped in my head.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget it because I think it's important for the people watching. You had mentioned
Hmm.
as a cliche thing, like, we have to go within. And that concept, when I
Hmm.
first opened up, because I knew nothing about this stuff, I wasn't spiritual. People are using the word frequency,
Right.
sensation, go within. I'm like, well, how the hell
Hmm.
do I go within? I just could not understand. So to go within,
Hmm.
you have to meditate. I always tell people start reading, start seeking,
Hmm.
watching the shows or the authors or something like this that inspires you, right? But the going
Right.
in, what I've discovered for myself along the way is, prayer is also very important. So like praying is when you're talking to God or source or your ancestors, whatever you pray
Hmm.
to. I don't care what it is, whatever you pray to. But meditation is when you're listening and you can receive. So when I first started
Right.
meditating, and it's not always the easiest thing at first, we all know that. It could take you up to a year to
Right.
figure it out. Once you figure it out, though, it's easy. Okay. And then
Mhm.
hopefully in time, like I started seeing like clairvoyant pictures in my third eye. So it was a way that
Right.
I was receiving messages from my higher self or my deceased mom
Right.
and dad, or I'm very into archangels, or, Jesus has come and stuff like that. So it is by going within, and that's quiet.
Mhm.
That's trying to figure out how to make your mind silent so that you can
Right.
hear, you can receive,
Mhm.
you know?
Right.
So is that what you started doing? I mean, did you just start meditating? Did you just start having
I
awareness of
sucked.
yourself,
I
or
sucked at meditating. I sucked at meditating. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't get quiet. And so if there's anyone out there who feels that same way, I would say there are active meditations, like running became my meditation, even driving. You can still be doing something and sitting and like turning on a song that inspires you. The thoughts that are intuitive are those fleeting, quick thoughts. You're not thinking about it. It just
just a flash?
swings by.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally like that bird that flies in front of your windshield that goes,
And maybe people think
that
they're
is
going to hear a whole conversation, and it's not. It's
right.
a quick
No,
input
it's just
or a quick thought.
little
Yeah.
quick. And so once I was able to understand that I could be in active meditation, so I could go running with no music. And I say this to people who like to run. Don't take the iPod one day. Don't take your phone even. If you have a Fitbit, fine, but just run and see what comes to you. And even just like active, like journaling can be meditation if you're just trying to like empty your mind from other thoughts, just kind of tune things out. Napping could be a great start to meditation. I want to go take a nap. I'll say to my son all the time, I want to go meditate for 10 minutes. Sometimes it winds up being a 20-minute nap, but it starts off with the first 10 minutes of the intention of just calming your mind and slowing your breath. And if you're just consciously slowing in your breath, I love the box breathing, which is in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, pause for 4. If you just even do that for like 2 minutes, it'll change your bloodstream and release that, fight or flight stress, all those hormones that are going like, "Ah," like if you're in a panic
Well,
attack.
meditation is
So,
very healing. Yeah. I mean, meditation can help you with anxiety, stress, your
yeah.
daily crap that's going on. And what you mentioned about breathing, so many people,
Hmm.
when they start meditating, they're like, well, I keep thinking about the pizza I'm ordering for dinner, or I got the kids up at dance
Right.
or whatever. And you're not going to stop your mind. Okay. And
Right.
people, I think that's what becomes difficult for people. So what you said
Hmm.
is correct. It's just, okay, like I'm closing my eyes, I'm trying to meditate. Oh, I'm thinking
Hmm.
dog or the kids or dinner or whatever. But every time
Right.
it happens, just bring your attention back to the inhale, up through your nose, out through your mouth, because the mind
Hmm.
needs something to do. Or,
Right.
me at the beginning, my first stage event, I was scared shitless, right? Nervous, anxiety. I mean, let alone talk to dead
Right.
people when you're on a stage, and my biggest fear was public speaking. Like where I told
Right.
the teacher when I was a senior in high school, give me an F, I'm not doing the speech. That's how bad my fear
Right.
was.
Right. Right.
Yes, we're going to talk about anxiety. This is just taking its own way now, but they're
Hmm.
talking in my head, telling me what to bring up. So you would ask me
Right.
to do an event, which was a pretty big event for my first event in front of 50 people. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm a person though that like would be so mad at myself if I said no. So you asked me like
Hmm.
2 or 3 months before the event was going to be, and your first event with 50 people and being filmed
Right.
and being interviewed, and there was a musician there. It's pretty
Hmm.
bleeping scary when you have a fear of public speaking. Okay. And then to be calm
Right.
off and talk to dead people.
Right.
And
Right.
so my anxiety was so rough. And I guess we're going to talk about this because we're talking about anxiety with meditation, how it can help. And breath work
Hmm.
helps with anxiety. I heard in my head that morning of, I started crying. I'm like, oh my God, I said yes. How am I going to do this? But I'm a true believer,
Hmm.
and miracles happen when you step out of your comfort zone. So like if you're
Right.
afraid of heights, jump out of the plane, your anxiety, your fear is gone. So I knew
Right.
I had to do it. I just didn't know how the heck I was going to do it. So that
Right.
morning, I was like crying. I was talking to my friend and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. She's like, you're going to do it. I'm like, I know I'm doing it, but I don't know how. Right. And then I heard in my head,
Hmm.
hypnotize yourself. I went on YouTube,
Hmm.
hypnotize myself for like 20 minutes. I go to the event.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember, but I remember the minute you saw me, because I do talk fast and I'm pretty animated, right? And I was talking like this, so calm,
Hmm.
so quiet. You're like, what
Hmm.
the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, hey, we might have a problem. I hypnotize myself and I'm way too grounded and way too calm. but
Wow.
but it
It
went
works.
off and I wasn't nervous. So these little
Hmm.
things you can do, meditation, hypnosis, these are things, tools in a toolbox that can help. definitely
Right.
breathing for anxiety is huge, you know?
Right.
And
Totally.
a lot of intuitives have anxiety. A lot of
Right.
really psychics and mediums have gone through living hell. Why? Because how would we gain any wisdom, knowledge if we didn't? How could we help somebody else if we didn't have to
Hmm.
figure out how to work through our problems and heal ourselves, you know? Um,
Right.
and I'm sure you probably have found that with yourself or anything that maybe you have gone through, because I know I've gone through stuff and I can
Hmm.
definitely meet people where they're at because of where I've been. Do you find
Right.
times talking to clients or when you're doing, events, speaking, do you find a lot of parallel situations where you're like, you kind of pull on, that's why I went through that? I mean, you are divorced, right? So let's use
Right.
that. So like, do
Mhm.
you ever like get a lot of divorced women coming to you where you obviously you're thinking, how did I get through that?
Right.
And you pull on your own experiences and how you helped
Right.
yourself to help another person. Did that make sense?
No, absolutely, because you can't speak on what you don't know. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, you're
Okay.
going through this so that you can help somebody else down the road get through it too, because you will know from where they speak. When I sit on a Zoom with somebody and they tell me they're afraid to get divorced because they don't know how they're going to get through it, and da, 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 I'm like, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, you know? I mean, my son and I were like, we moved out of like my dream house. I thought you would have me like my ashes were going to be sprinkled in the backyard at the rose garden. Like that was my forever home. And then we wind up selling it. And then at one point, my son and I lived in a coach house over a garage where every time they opened the garage, the table would move like our dinner. We'd be like, I mean,
And it was
it was
haunted
rough.
too.
It was totally on it. And I moved 6 times in 7 years. I don't wish that on anybody. I mean, I literally was like on the go because we were just trying, things would happen. I mean, shit storms, pardon my French, but it's like one place had black mold, another place they raised the rent to a ridiculous amount, it was just always on
We're
the go. We
forced
were
out.
packing up.
But
Yeah.
sometimes that
Mhm.
struggle was probably to move you to where you're supposed to be, if that makes
Well,
sense.
I like I said, I couldn't counsel on something I didn't know. So when people come to me and they're like, I was so put out, I'm like, I get it. I lived through it. Like, I really understand. I mean, I understand loss. I understand job uncertainties. I understand divorce. I understand, tumultuous lots of friendships, family dysfunction, addiction, like all these things
Right,
in my
all of it.
family that have come through. I can help other people because I know it, right? But I also think back to your point on anxiety. We have an epidemic right now of empathic people and people not knowing that they're empathic. So, an empath is somebody that can feel the emotions of other people around them and they don't know why. So, you
Or their
might get
pain
like,
or physical pain
right,
too.
or their physical pain. So, I remember, as a kid, I would walk into a room and just get this owie feeling. And it was like I knew something bad was going to happen. And either the teacher was going to yell, or my parents were going to fight, or the babysitter was bad, or whatever. And I didn't know what it was. My mom took me to the doctor. The doctor said I was making it up for attention. That pediatrician went on to practice for another 35 years. So they didn't have a toolbox to understand that kids, this is like the solar plexus is so sensitive. And so what I liken it to, just because you can't see energy, we know it's happening.
Mhm.
Like we can't see our internet connection, but we know the signal is going and landing in somebody's computer or handheld and they're absorbing the information. So same with energy. You can't see it, but it's broadcasting out. And an empath is shooting it out way far in all directions, kind of like a blind person with a stick trying to feel the landscape as they walk. An empath is shooting out energy to kind of feel who's in a good mood, who's not. Am I safe? It's like an animal in the wild. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe here? And then in that process, their energy, it's like they're putting it out and they're feeling everything. And then it's overwhelming. And then they get anxiety and then they have a panic attack. Why do you think so many people with anxiety can't fly? Because they're feeling everyone's anxiety on the plane or whatever. And so it's
Or
really
even
that. It's their
collectively, right? Because we can
right.
pick up on stuff collectively too.
Exactly. So what I teach in our Zooms in the social club is make your light tight and bright. I literally, it's like a light bulb. You're going to burn off the fog of everybody else's. Pat Longo teaches surround, ground, and shield. I say in our social club, surround, ground, and shine. Shine your bright light so much so that no low frequency can stick. And it's really just kind of putting up an invisible double-sided mirror so that you're not, I mean, I remember I first read that in Positive Energy by Dr. Judith Orloff, an MD psychiatrist, talking about putting up a double-sided mirror for those energy vampires at work. We have energy vampires at work, at home, everywhere, okay, in our family. And so you have to have the tools in your toolbox. And so I love interviewing people who have gotten the other side of anxiety and teach people how to work with their toolbox. Anxiety is your superpower is one of my most popular classes that we teach in the social club because of this. And we're talking 15-year-olds to 70-year-olds that have had anxiety and they didn't know how to work with it. So once you get control of it, it's like I say this, like walking into an airplane and seeing a cockpit and you're like, what do these knobs mean? Then you learn how the knobs work and then you can fly the freaking plane.
Right.
It makes it.
Anxiety is weird. I mean, and people are weird, right? So like for
Mhm,
me at the time, like when my abilities opened up, I'm spirit taught. Have I taken
mhm.
courses, yes, with Von Prague or whoever,
Yeah.
but they're like 3-day courses, whatever. Most of this though, like, I learned from my experiences, and that to me is
Mhm.
truth. It's not what I'm
Right.
reading in a book, it's not a belief system. It's true to me because
Hmm.
I experienced it. And
Hmm.
but everyone's different. So I look for that. Now, for myself, when I had that kind of anxiety in high school, right? I'm like, yeah, give me the F, I'm out. Right? So I ran away. Now I've
Right.
got so different. Maybe it's just my age too, right? Or my personality.
Mhm.
I find like I'm always nervous before you go on a stage. Who isn't? I'm sure as an actress, you get that weebie jeebies, you
Right.
get energized, like, let's go.
Right.
And now for me, I just have to step in. I have to put my big girl
Hmm.
panties on, and that's the only way I get through it. But that's my way. So try both ways,
Right.
guys. There's
Right.
one way for everybody. And that's where I like having these conversations. And I know you do podcasts and interview people. A lot of people find their own way. They have
Right.
individual truth through their experiences. An alcoholic has a sponsor, right? Most
Right.
people, psychic mediums will have a mentor. But here's me, who I guess is like the
Hmm.
rebel, never really had a mentor. I pay
Hmm.
for classes, 2 or 3 day classes, sure. But some people
Yeah.
really work with a mentor. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
but just to say though, but not everyone needs one. So there's no right way or wrong way on the spiritual path. It's what works for you.
Right.
Try the way Jennifer
Right.
with anxiety. Try my
Mhm.
way. There's more than one way, or I might try 10 different ways for a certain situation until I figure it out. Um,
Right.
I'm hearing right now that you have another book to do. So sorry, they're starting to talk.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know. I'm on deadline for it on my like self-proclaimed deadline, but I have others ghostwriting jobs that are taking precedence and I keep hearing get it out, get it out, get it out. So I'm
what
making
I'm
that a
hearing is you're
priority
doing
over
a
the next
disservice to
2 weeks. Yeah.
yourself right now. Sorry to start doing a reading, but it's popping in if that's okay.
Yeah, see.
Make
Yeah.
yourself a priority.
Yeah. And what I was just saying, you can't give what you don't have. Fill up your pitcher first. So I need to make that my
Or you know
priority.
what? Or you
So
work on their book for an hour, work on yours for an hour, right? Budget the time right or whatever. Um, so
mhm,
what else have you like? Okay, I know we were even talking last night.
mhm,
I like to share with people that because I've had total depression. I've been there.
mhm.
I've had severe
Yeah.
anxiety. I've been there. And if I knew
Mhm.
what I knew now, I wouldn't have suffered for 5 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like if
Right.
somebody would say, "Oh, this is like the dark night of the soul. This is your spiritual awakening." Spiritual awakenings
Right.
are not for the faint of heart. They suck until they become beautiful,
Mhm.
right? They're very
Right.
hard. A lot of times you will
Right.
have a perfect marriage, a perfect family, a perfect job. Everything's perfect. And let's talk about this. Like, we've each kind of distanced ourselves from some past friends and stuff.
Mhm.
I start out like Jenniffer and I have known each other how long now? It's over 10 years, right? I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Over 10 years. Mhm.
But as you start raising your vibration, so you guys, there's like a triangle chart you can Google on YouTube, and there's, different levels of consciousness. Victimhood
Mhm.
is one of the lowest. 9 times out of 10, that's where we're all starting from if we're depressed or had marriage problems or whatever happened, right? And love would be the highest. Gratitude is right there. And we were talking about gratitude last night when we were doing an event. And you
Mhm.
guys, even if you're depressed, gratitude and love are what's going to get you through. And then
Right.
someone that's depressed is going to say, well, I'm getting divorced, my husband left, or whatever. And
Mhm.
no, there's no hope. But if you change your way of thinking and your perspective or your mindset, what if these people have got to be removed out of your life so much better can come in, you know,
Right.
or,
Yeah.
or have that
No, it's but
gratitude. Go ahead.
right. I both so as you're talking, I'm being reminded of like I've had the weirdest things where people just totally made up stories about me like
Mhm.
made up completely false
I
stories
get it.
because they have to play the victim and they have to, and they want to make, me look bad and they've got, I mean, really weird things. And like one of these people I hadn't even met ever in my life. And I'm hearing these things that she's making up about me. And I'm like, what is that? And then you have to kind of go, wait a minute. Nobody would do that unless they're totally afraid. Fear is what creates that kind of behavior, right? Fear-based behavior. Anyone who's screaming in anger, you should really stop them in their tracks and say, what are you afraid of? Because somebody to completely, I always tell people, if you're not actively plotting someone's demise, there probably isn't about you. Their behavior should not be taken personally because you did nothing to prompt it. You're not over there like being like, oh, boil, boil, toil and trouble, like, unless you are. I mean, some people do that. I know that they do that. And that's another thing too. We were having a meeting earlier today on my social club for my annual members. And one of the women was saying that a friend of hers is basically telling her all the stuff is the devil and it's really horrible that you're taken over by demons
Should
and
have
tarot
called me.
cards are
I would have
demonic.
jumped in there.
And I said, really, and I said, this is what makes me so nuts is that like that fear frequency, because again, you go to that consciousness, the fear and then the
Yep.
shame and the guilt and the trauma and all that is so low, low, low vibe. And so are there dark energies that try to interfere with happiness? Absolutely. I have seen it in person. I have been in the presence of somebody who I believe was demonically possessed with no whites in their eyes, and it scared the shit out of me. And it was terrifying. It exists. Now, I'm not going to put energy into it and be like, oh, never leave the house. I knew exactly what to do. And I prayed for guidance, for light, for protection. And I basically told them to get the F out. And they did because you have control over your space, over your domain, over your energy. You have the control. Okay. Now, are some people sloppy as they're doing tarot cards and not, I call it healing hygiene, right? Not calling in the highest frequency deities, right? Ascended masters or, whatever it is, your higher self, those high frequencies, if information comes through from that level, then you're getting divine guidance to help you stay the course, keep the faith, keep going. I said to this one lady, I go, do you really think the devil wants to send me heart-shaped rocks and pennies from heaven? Is that
Oh,
their
don't you
MO?
love when people say, like,
That's
how do
it,
I know
right?
as a medium? How do I know you're not talking to the devil? I'm like,
Right. Right.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
I look at things a little different too. I've never, to be honest with you, in what 15 years I've been doing this, I have never
Mm-hmm.
had a negative experience or a scary experience. I also think
Right.
that people's belief system. So, like what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
someone believes in the devil, someone believes in lower vibrations or little entities are going to read into you
Right.
and do all this. Sometimes I just feel that the person would be creating it because you're bringing it to you so you can get over that fear, get over that belief
Right.
system, right? And if
Right.
you feel yourself, the highest vibrations, love and gratitude, joy, all those nice things. If you're full of love, and actually something just popped in my head to share, nothing can touch you. So one time I was meditating and there was a
Mm-hmm.
person that attempted to ruin my whole life. Okay. So not a person I talked to, never met.
Mm-hmm.
And I was meditating. I guess my soul and my spirit decided to send her love. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
in this meditation. I have never felt being so full of love that I did that moment. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sending it to this enemy person. And I'm like, I was kind of aware in the meditation, like, what the hell am I doing
Mm-hmm.
that for? But I guess inner me wanted to do it because
Right.
send your enemy love because that's what they
Mm-hmm.
need because they're not
Right.
in a good vibration
Right.
or a
They're,
good
they're
place.
because they're lacking love. Anybody who is in that much fear and hate is lacking love.
So then when I
Mm-hmm.
was sending her love, I saw an image of
Mm-hmm.
this like black animal, gooey looking thing that's not normal in this world with yellow fangs.
Right.
I mean, I was in such a state of life, Jenniffer. Like I completely forget about this all the time. I looked at it and I started laughing my butt off. I'm like, get the fuck
Right.
out of here. I go, you're just an
Yeah.
image in
Right.
my mind. Get out of here. And it went away. I
Yeah.
kept
See.
sending
Yeah.
this person love.
Right.
So,
Right.
be careful. If I could say, and I think you would agree, we're raised from our parents, right? Most of us.
Mm-hmm.
We were raised Catholic. We were raised with the church's idea or our parents' beliefs, or God's punishing. He's
Right.
coming to get you. Like your parents will just say,
Right.
keep you out of trouble. Don't talk back. God's
Right.
listening. That kind of crap.
Right.
No, or
Right.
whatever other religion it comes with belief systems. And then we have belief systems from school, education,
Right.
religion,
Mm-hmm.
everything. So it's almost like as an adult, if I could share, wish anything with you guys, question your belief system. Is it even yours?
Right.
Is it your soul's?
Right.
Or is it your
Mm-hmm.
parents? Is it schools? Is it the
Right.
church you went to or the synagogue you went to? Because,
Inherited. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why we're here to evolve.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I like these tricks of before you go into meditation or before you go to sleep. So we all have, okay. So we are a spirit living in a human body, right? Our body dies,
Mm-hmm.
our spirit's the eternal part of us, return to the divine,
Right.
right? We're all love and light over there, do whatever we do.
Right.
But I think that the more work we do on ourselves in this lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
the more successful we're going to be over there, or the more maybe we'll be a guide for somebody, right?
Right.
And you can't find that out if you don't go within
Right.
and start questioning
Right.
yourself and like, okay, so like if I asked you, Jenniffer, why do you believe in God?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you?
Right.
Was it because your mom, your
Well,
dad?
right. And even that word rubs me the wrong way because it's not like it's some white-haired dude sitting in a chair. Like I believe there's an almighty creator force that has created,
Sources.
all that we've got here. And back to your point too about that demony looking thing. I've literally seen like something like that. I've been in a haunted house where I was pinned down and I literally woke up with bruises on my forearms. So I've
My God.
experienced dark shit.
Yeah.
And so I know it's real, and I know these are stuck spirits that are not in the light. And so that's why I'm so diligent about this whole healing hygiene concept, that if you go in, if you're lazy about it, and I see a lot of, and I hate to say this, but I see a lot of younger intuitives being in this drive-by kind of like, ayahuasca tripping. I'm just going to do, and look,
Be careful with
I've done so many things. I'm not knocking people who go on journeys. I'm just saying that they're lazy about it, and then their healing hygiene has fractures and they are not cleaned up, and it's like they've rolled in mud, and they're attracting all these frequencies that are not in the light, that are not light working frequencies. I mean, I say this a lot. You're not going to go to the gym in Crocs and try to run 26 miles on the treadmill. You're just
exactly.
not. You have to have the right shoes. You have to, like, there's a process to doing this work. And like an airplane pilot, or like, again, an open heart surgeon, they know how to cut open. They're trained for it. You can't be now, are some people naturally really gifted right out of the gate? No doubt.
That's what happened to me.
Not
Yeah, overnight. I just woke up a medium and
sure.
I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Right. But you had to figure out how to use your operating system. So
I
you
had to
saw
learn
how 50 other people did it. You taught yourself, you learned a lot, you read every book
a
you could
lot
get
of
your hands on.
practice, a lot of
Right. A
practice.
lot of practice, and you know what works for you. And that's what we do in our classes, is like, see what works for you. You're all going to have a different clair firing, right? Clairaudient is hearing, clairvoyant is seeing, clairsentient, you get goosebumps, claircognizant, you just know. Like, you just have to have some basics.
I always
Like
say
when you ride a bike,
you
you
got to
know.
master yourself.
Right, right.
And I
You have
don't
to
think a
master
lot of
yourself.
teachers talk about that. You got to dissect you, the individual, Jen.
Right.
Not always easy as
Totally. But I'd like,
saying.
right. I mean, but also too, it's like, if you live in a busy city where there's a lot of shooting outside the door, you lock the damn door. You don't want them come barreling in. And that's not living in fear. That's just being proactive.
Exactly.
So, if you're walking into one of these, I'm sorry, these annoying haunted houses, which I think is the worst thing you can do during that time of year. It's just like, walk, if you're scared, oh, let's go be scared. Then that just, they're attaching to a frequency that's there, that they're finding a match in your fear frequency. And then they might hitchhike. I call them hitchhikers. I don't know if I have time for a quick story on this. I was a student in somebody's intuitive development class. Do I have a minute to share this with you?
Yeah, plenty of time.
Okay. And so somebody asked if I wanted to, be a sitter, they call it, like where you're getting the readings for somebody who's practicing to become more intuitive and learn their gifts. And so I was like, oh, I never get to be a sitter. This is cool. So what I did is what we do in the social club. I set the intention that only the ascended master level energy and above is welcome. Only the readings for my highest good, for my higher self, to my team, right? Rebecca Rosen calls it team spirit, your spirit team. And I was really like aware of, like, I don't want any messages from any frequency that's lower than this highest possible vibe. Okay. So I'm sitting there, and this person's sitting there, and they're cramping their brain trying to get something. And then the lady says to me, I don't think you're very open to this because I'm not getting anything. And I was like, I was like, whoa, are you off? And so it turns out I tell the teacher, I said, listen, I just want you to know, it was like dead air. And I set my healing hygiene intentions so that basically it's like you put the screen on for the window so that the bat can't fly in the window. I could still feel a breeze, but no bats are coming in the window. And she goes, that's so weird because she's one of my most talented students. And I said, well, who's her source?
Who's she talking to?
Is she working? Is she talking to the divine here, or is she just talking to like, whatever, some guide named Bob? I mean, like, I don't know. And she said, well, she does. She has a guide named like Dan or whatever. I'm not even kidding. And her guide has always been spot on. And I was like, well, guess what? Dan ain't in the light. You can have somebody sitting across giving
Oh,
you information that is accurate, but it might not be in the right frequency. Okay. Like I say this a lot too. Darth Vader was a really good warrior, but I don't want him over for Thanksgiving. He can be really good at fighting, but you don't want him over. So that is what I think
might be
all
a
these
good
really
protector guide though.
under circumstances with other Darth Vaders, maybe, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, you
No, I guess.
just kind of like, yeah. And so that was a really good lesson for me because somebody can be so spot on and accurate. And I'm like, I don't want guide Dan. I don't want guide Bob. No offense, Bob and Dan, but I'm going for Archangel Michael here, or I want Jesus, or I want Mother Mary, or, whatever.
Let's do that.
Work with
Let's
the
talk
deep.
about angels because a lot of people don't believe in angels. So I did not believe in
Yeah.
angels when this,
Yeah.
shit happened to me. And
Right.
that's my
Hmm.
witness. When I was going through a hard time and was depressed, I didn't know I was intuitive or woohoo stuff
Right.
was starting to happen, whatever. I had called a psychic
Hmm.
and she goes, Archangel Michael's with you. Now, in my head, because I'm also a
Hmm.
very logical person and, kind of down to earth, I wasn't spiritual that, right?
Hmm.
Didn't really think too much.
Right. Right.
And all of a sudden in my head, so I'm thinking, lady, you're crazy. No, I was down to my
Right.
underwear. They always get me naked. I don't know why, because I'm ready to get in the shower. Okay. And now I understand the
Right.
showers have a lot of energy from water. Water is, conduit for
Sure.
energy, whatever. We don't get in that. So,
Hmm.
anyway, so she goes, Archangel Michael's with you. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, sure, lady.
Hmm.
Got on my
Hmm.
witness, my little puppy that's laying down my feet, on my kids' lives, on anything that I love.
Hmm.
Now, remember, you're basically naked, which is kind of the creepy part. But, anyways, so I felt this presence standing behind me, and I felt every finger
Hmm.
go like that from my neck all the way down to my feet. And I felt
Hmm.
nothing but this divine love, like in peace and joy and
Hmm.
bliss from in my brain all the way down to my body. It was
Yeah.
more like if you ever, I don't know if this ever happened to you, when the divine or an angel, anything divine in the light
Hmm.
touches your
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
I can't even put it into words what it feels like. It's such a
Yeah.
love. And it's more of a love than you feel for your kid when it's born, when your baby's born, right? Have you ever had an
Right.
experience
Totally.
like that? I mean, it's so
Absolutely.
life changing and your
Yeah.
depression goes away. Like everything just lifts from you. It's wild. Have you had
So I
something?
had a miracle happen. Yes, it was like I was absolutely at one of my lowest of lows. I had to move twice in a year. I had 3 writing assignments that blew up. I didn't know how I was going to pay rent. I didn't know how I was going to get food for I mean, it was like absolutely, and this was like the first year into COVID, and it was horrible. And I literally just collapsed. I was like, I can't. My dog is wagging her tail right now because she knows I'm thinking of I'm thinking, can he stop?
And our dogs are
I'm
healers and
yeah,
intuitives.
right. I'm thinking of the miracle that happened, and so she's literally wagging her tail in the because she's feeling my frequency again. If you don't believe in energy, think about a dog that can predict a storm 4 hours before it even hits. They start, circling and
Well, they're
pacing and
sitting at the
shaking.
window. They know
That's
you're coming home and they go to the window. Dogs are psychic as hell.
exactly,
Poor cats. Yeah.
exactly. So that's it. So that's intuitive people. And so right now my dog is anticipating the story, but I was
Gonna
so
ghosting
completely
you. Look
lost.
at you. You're like
I mean, literally, she's
going
like,
up your back.
she's like, hello.
Hi, Birdie.
Stop it. Hi, Birdie. Hello, Birdie. But yeah,
Oh, you're
so
so Birdie. Let's go. Come on.
Birdie.
Hi, Birdie.
All
Let's.
right, I'll tell this story. So I was completely
Oh my God.
crying in bed, and I was praying. I was praying like, as Carolyn May says, I was praying like a crazy person. I was praying like a crazy person. And I collapsed under the bed and I woke up to a text. Oh, here goes my dog. She's going to start barking because somebody just entered.
That's okay. Then my dog will start barking if your dog barks.
Okay.
Boom.
Sorry,
Look at
Birdie.
them all.
Hi, guys. Son just showed up with all of his friends.
That's okay.
I literally started praying like crazy, like, and I had been I had been invited to a group, a rosary group that would meet. And I wasn't raised Catholic. I was kind of conveniently Christian, depended who my dad was married to at the time. But I had learned how to do a rosary with this group. And so there was a rosary on the side of the bed, and I grabbed the rosary and I started praying to the rosary. And when I woke up 20 minutes later, I had a text from one of the women from the rosary group, basically answering my prayer and asking for my bank routing number so that she could
Ta-da.
deposit enough money so that I could pay the rent and get that month and get some food for my son. And it was literally a game changer of
That's
like,
actually happened a couple
it,
times. I was with you another time that we don't have to talk about it now, where somebody
yeah,
gave a
right.
large
Yes.
donation.
Angel wings. Yeah. And so I really do, I experienced, and I said, okay, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I know miracles are real. I experienced it because she was praying in Arizona with a friend, and they were both praying the rosary in Arizona. I was praying the rosary in Chicago, collapsed on the bed at the exact same moment. And when they came out of their rosary, she saw my face when she came to at the end, and then that is when it happened. So if you, whatever you believe in, know there's something bigger going on than you could ever possibly understand. It's so vast. I wasn't raised Catholic or confirmed Catholic or anything, and the Blessed Mother decided that I was worthy of that miracle. And so therefore, any diehard Catholics would be like, well, I don't know that. Okay, is that the devil then? Really? The devil came in and spared me so that I could pay my rent and feed my kid? I don't think so. That's not Lucifer's MO. So I just get tired of people saying if it's not of their box, then it must be something evil and icky. I've seen evil and icky, and I don't think evil and icky wants to do the kind of things that we're doing and whisper messages of encouragement in your ear or stop you from going to that intersection and then not getting hit by the car. I've interviewed
Well,
way too many people who've survived. Yeah.
yeah, and what you're talking about, where we're going into now, I guess, is as your vibration, I was at the bottom. I'm sure you were,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
who hasn't been, right? When shit blows up in your face
Right.
and falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
But when you raise your frequency, your vibration really up high, and then,
Mm-hmm.
you and I know for a fact, are working on our soul's mission purpose now, right?
Right. Right.
But our vibration has gotten higher. And that's when it gets cool on the spiritual path. That is when
Mm-hmm.
everything just, all the doors fly open. The synchronicity
Right.
starts. I didn't
Right.
look for you.
Right.
I didn't look for a
Right.
job. I didn't look for
Mm-hmm.
friends, anything. Like everything now just comes. And every
Right.
time it does, I look,
Because you're allowing. Yeah, you
but you
allow.
attract it. Like it's just the universe is working
Right.
with you and for you. And like
Right.
everything's just like you're almost like on the destiny path. Everything that's meant to be is going to be. But whenever
Right.
like you came in, I look up at the sky. Thank you. Whenever, let's say,
Right.
this little dog I have came,
Right.
thank you.
Acknowledge it. Mhm.
Because they, whether it's your dead people, your own spirit, your own higher self, your guides,
Mhm.
the angels, Mother Mary, Jesus, God, whatever.
Mhm.
I don't care if you were,
Mhm.
a golden cow, okay, or a
Right.
deity, whatever. It
Right.
all starts working for you, and that's
Mhm.
when, so why am I hearing roller coaster right now? Okay. So, so I guess what I'm gonna
Yeah,
say,
it's a roller coaster.
yeah. So at
Yeah.
the beginning of the spiritual journey, you're here and depressed, sad,
Mhm.
crying, anxiety, whatever the hell is going on with you. And there are
Right.
going to be ups and downs, pits and valleys, and there
Mhm.
still is in our lives. I mean, people are people. We learn. I think our best
Mhm.
teachers are relationships.
Right.
That's
Mhm.
education, friends, work, work relationships, lovers, whatever, husband, wife, kids, whatever. And
Mhm.
these are all teachable lessons. And yes, there's going to be ups and downs. But I really find, like, at least for
Mhm.
myself, and I'm sure you agree, even if life turns to shit tomorrow, and God knows what's going to happen, this world is bleeping crazy, right? When you have
Right.
that love or it's really faith in
Mhm.
your higher power, in something higher, you're always going to be okay. And we also
Right.
know, your dad's always with you. I know my mom and dad are always with me. Even if you feel so lonely and despondent or in despair, knowing that the afterlife is real,
Right.
knowing like a parent
Right.
that lost their child, if they have the belief in the afterlife and they've, talked to a medium and talked to their son or daughter, that's enough
Right.
to hopefully keep them going through life, knowing when they get to the other side, they're going to be with their child or their loved one.
Right.
You know? So
Right.
you
Well,
know,
I think that sometimes people though can get stuck by only by doing that. Like you and I have both seen some people that I feel like you can prevent a soul's growth by tethering them too close to this dimension with needing to talk to them
oh yeah,
through
don't
mediums.
overdo it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's wonderful right out of the gate to get that soothingness to help with the shock, to help with, I'm not saying that parents shouldn't have that experience. I've seen how it
But we don't
helps
want to be
lift the
that
veil of
crutch
grief.
though. We want them to still heal their
Good.
grief
Right.
and learn
Correct. And
to
and
live
the healing
without.
part, so first the healing can begin with that knowledge that look, they are sending messages, they are there, they are with us, they are feeling us, they are waiting for us when we get over there. But then we want to let their souls evolve and grow because they have jobs to do over there, quite frankly. I mean, I've interviewed too many people who have died and come back that tell me they are basically given assignments to help either recently crossed over souls or to just continue to evolve. It's all about evolving consciousness
The soul
and
is going
learning more and
to
learning more
evolve. Yeah.
as a soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you don't want to prevent their soul's growth because your grief is
You don't want to
here
hold them
and
back. You
trying
don't want to
to
hold them
tether
here.
it. Yeah, exactly. Oh, she's so funny. She's my dog.
I mean, the majority of
Ah,
people,
sorry.
it's okay. I think the majority of people, they do find their way, and it just grief is weird. Grief is hard. Grief
Right.
is different for every individual.
Mhm.
Some people get
Absolutely.
quick,
Yep.
some don't, some live with it
Mhm.
forever, right? So,
Right. Absolutely.
has your intuition opened up at all during this little journey you've been on?
Yes. And it was Pat Longo that said, "Are you ready to do this?" I was like, "Do what?" And she was like, "Well,
To
I
join
see
me?
lavender all around you." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so I started taking her class with people from all over the world, Germany and Canada and France. And you would talk about intimidating. Like here's this, world-renowned healer that I met because you. And now she's teaching this class and I'm sitting in there and I'm paired up with a total stranger and I close my eyes and it's like I've got to trust that again, setting the intention to help heal, connect, whatever. I now see how my operating system works and I little images will pop into my mind and I never know what they mean. And I used to say all the time, I don't know where this is coming from, or this is going to sound so strange.
Say
But
what you
it was
get. I always
Carolyn,
tell people,
you know, yeah, I don't know where it's going. But Carolyn May says, don't you dare insult the divine. You know exactly where it's coming from. So say it. You say, I have some information for you. You can take it or leave it. And that's how it goes. I mean, she literally reminded me that if you say you want to do this work, and Carolyn said that, she goes, I have a gift for something I never asked to do. Her medical intuition. She was living her life as an editor in New Hampshire and first Chicago, then the East Coast. And then she becomes this woman who can see people's illnesses. Like, what? Like, how is that possible? She didn't ask for it. It hit. She
yeah,
started working with Norm Shealy, may he rest in peace, on a bunch of cases. He's a Harvard trained like neurologist or brain surgeon or something with the brain. I can't remember what Norm does, but did. But he and Carolyn were teammates for decades, writing books together about the mind body spirit connection. So, this is very real. It's not crazy. There's so much going on we can't possibly figure out.
well, now
So just keep
spirituality
asking questions.
and spirit and science,
Mhm.
school of spirituality and science, or spirituality and
Mhm.
science now
Yep.
are merging together, which is pretty cool.
Right.
Like we're able to prove
Yeah.
family brain scans now, or Joe
Right.
Dispenza's work, right? So
Mhm.
like it's becoming more normal,
Right.
you know,
Completely.
and
Yes,
that's why we
exactly.
want
And
to have
people
this.
are healing. Yeah, miraculous healings are taking place. I mean, it's like 1,400 confirmed miracles with the Vatican since 1,500, and that's just the ones that Catholics are talking about. So we can't explain things in simple terms all the time, but you have to be open to the possibility that there's a lot of things that we can't ever understand or know. And this is something I have in my show. I'm doing a one-woman show now in different cities called I'm Spiritual Damn It, based
Going to
on,
be in the
kind of
Chicago
all.
area.
Yeah, I mean, depending when you're watching this, we've got one coming up July 28th of 2024
I'll go to that.
at the Laughing Academy. I'll have another one in the fall at the Wayfarer Theaters in Highland Park. So just stay at jenweigel.com. It'll be posted. But the point is, as I say, look, we used to think smoking was okay, enough so that there were doctors on TV asking, what cigarette do you smoke? And they literally were lighting up talking about doctors recommend camels. I mean, it's like, this is what we did at the time because that was the information we knew to be true until we kept asking questions and doing research. And then we evolved. So that's what it's all about. We have to evolve, you know,
So,
we have to
before
evolve.
we wrap this up, like I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Mhm.
if there was anything that you could say to somebody that is not on this path that may cross this video. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I knew it was going to be like a doozy, or I guess could be for
Right,
anybody. Is there any
right.
of wisdom or tidbit you want to, or tool that you want to leave with anybody
Yeah.
before we wrap this up?
I would just say, expect the unexpected, set the intention to be mind blown, because in my experience, miracles are real. And if you give an angel a job, we didn't even talk about that, but I interviewed Lorna Byrne, who's been able to see angels since she was 4. All this evidence of, giving an angel a job, asking an angel, because free will, they can't really intervene unless they're our guardian angel, and that's
Yeah, you
whatever.
got to
I
invite it.
can't figure
You
out.
got to
Yeah,
invoke
you
them
got
and
to invite it in. So I would just say, I know in my research that miracles are real. And I also know in my research that, like, people have died and come back and given a lot of information. So don't ever think you know everything is your ego and not your trusting soul. And so just ask for the signs to show up and to surprise you and show off. It's
oh
like,
yeah, I know
that's
like
what.
so I know like for instance an example of that would be you'll be like if you're driving to downtown Chicago or New York, whatever, angels get me
Right,
a parking spot, and then you pull up in the
right.
front
That's
door
how
of
it
the
started.
hotel and there it is.
Yeah. I literally, in my first book, Stay Tuned, I wrote about the parking spot was the very first thing. When your mind opens the possibility, wait, I can get a parking spot here? Like, that's impossible. Nothing is impossible with enough faith and trust. And so you have to put that out there. And it takes a while. You have to feel it and experience it for it to really live in your frequency. But it is possible. And I tell people all the time, open your mind to the possibilities that miracles are real. And I literally have a post-it in my bathroom that says, "Thank you for the miracle today."
It-
Just that, just that right there. Thank you for the miracle today. And the miracle can be a parking space right when you need it or something much bigger. But you just have to put that frequency in your field, otherwise it won't show up.
And it's as simple as that. Like, before like I got in this path, I never thought about this path, right? I never thought about this
Right, right,
myself, right? And
right.
I always tell people start seeking. Start
Yeah,
asking yourself questions or asking God, source, universe, a deity, your
right,
question and see what happens. But I always get so
right.
upset when people only talk about guides and they don't talk about their higher self. Our higher self
Hmm.
is that powerful. It is our
Right.
divine essence, our eternal, it's forever, right? It knows everything. We come into this lifetime, supposedly,
Hmm.
all the knowledge, but with the intention to forget it and then rediscover it, right? So before you
Right.
go to meditation, hi Birdie, she's so cute. Before you go to sleep, before you meditate, set your intention to connect with your higher self or a God
Right.
or your, deceased mom and dad. And for some reason, I'm hearing, yes, pets have souls. So even our dogs and
Hmm.
cats are still with us and they do have souls.
Right.
And that was, I guess, to
Yeah.
attribute to Birdie and my little puppy on the floor right here.
And my Luna in spirit, that was, well, it was 1 year ago on next week when I had to put her down. I know losing a loved one, losing a pet,
Oh, it's
it's
awful.
just devastating. So, you just have to trust that, and that's the other thing too about grief. When you let grief out, you make room for more joy and love to come in. You just have to literally make the space for it. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to take her OUT because this is getting a
She
little
is cute.
ridiculous. Come on,
Okay, well, this is Jenniffer
sweetie.
Weigel. Go to jenweigel.com. And what was the other website you mentioned?
Oh, allsoulsretreat.com.
And that's for the Lake Geneva,
Yes.
which was 2, 3
Yeah,
days.
that's for the fun.
And
For
you guys,
sure. But yeah,
it's
otherwise be at
spiritual,
All Souls.
it's
Mhm.
educational, but it's fun, and people
Yeah,
do go out after. So it becomes a like you're on vacation for a weekend, but you're so
exactly.
okay, Jen. Thank you, and
Mhm.
Birdie, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Okay, even Birdie's like blessing you, right? So God bless everybody, and Birdie, send your blessings. Okay, she's showing you what unconditional love is. So thank you, Jenniffer
That's
White
right.
and Birdie, the star.
Thank you.
God bless you guys.
Right. Thanks, Gary.
Okay, bye
See you
everyone.
soon.
Thank you for
Okay,
tuning in.
bye.
Oh wait, I gotta save the recording.